You're listening to APMG Radio with my special guest, Valerie MacLeod. Valerie, before the break, we were talking about your article, 9 Symptoms of Highly Ineffective Leaders. But before we continue on, I wanted to ask you, do you believe that leaders are born or are they made? What's your sort of feeling on that?
It's a great question. I think some people are naturally leaders. They have some leadership abilities that they've learned along the way or got somehow. But leadership can be taught. So people who are already good leaders can use a coach to be a better leader, and people whose leadership skills might not be as finely honed can also benefit from having a leader, a coach, work with them to be a better leader.
And what would you say the advantages are of having that external coach? Because I guess that you see it from a whole different perspective when you come into that company.
Right. As an external coach, I'm neutral. The decision that the person makes is the right decision for them and for the organization. I'm not impacted by the decision. I'm not part of the politics. I'm not going to lose my job. I am really helping the person come up with the best answer for themselves and the organization because I'm not part of the organization.
Mm-hmm. We got up to analysis paralysis, and now I'd like to move on to cookie cutter feedback. So when you say try saying that a few times fast, cookie cutter feedback, what does that mean?
Cookie cutter feedback is, as a leader, I give everybody the same amount of information and in the same manner. And that makes sense. It seems fair, but people who are in different places in their careers or perhaps newer on the team may need more information. I may need to hear it more often. I may need more encouragement. I may need more background or more context, those kind of things. So as a leader, if I give everybody the same information, I'm either overwhelming the people who are already there, who've been there for a while and already know this stuff, or I'm giving people not enough information to do their jobs effectively. And therefore they're wasting resources, they're, tap dancing around, trying to do their job. It's not going well.
Do you see that that's pretty common from leaders and how they deal with their employees?
Well, it is, because if you think about it on the surface, it's fair. Let's treat everybody the same way. Everybody gets the same information. Everybody knows the same background. Everybody's got it. But if you look at it, some people need more information because they might be new on the team. I worked with a leader of an organization, and he had a really highly effective team. And because of a reorganization, 2 new members joined the team. And because any change in a team impacts the entire team, the team wasn't functioning as well anymore. What ended up happening was some communication wasn't very well, some assumptions were being made, and the ball was dropped on some really important dates and meeting some customer requirements. So I developed a systems thinking approach to communication, and I used it with that leader to get him to understand what were the needs of all the different players. And he realized that the 2 new guys needed way more feedback and need to hear things differently than the other ones. And by working with those guys differently, treating them a little bit differently than the rest, communication started improving in the team, and the team's gone back up to be a highly functioning team again.
Excellent. Now, I want to go on to the next one, which is conflict aversion, which I would imagine as a leader. This is a pretty tough one. So explain why this was important in the article to actually notice.
Conflict aversion is probably the one that people want to deal with the least, because I either don't want to handle it badly, so I'm not going to handle it, or I'm just going to hope and pray that it goes away. And I've always said to people that hope is not a good strategy. So with conflict aversion, you really have to have a plan for not being emotional and for dealing with the conflict so that it doesn't grow and get worse and fester.
And do you think that is, once you come in as an external coach, is that something that can be dealt with very easy once they actually understand the way that they should be dealing with it?
Yes. The best thing to do is to try to handle the conflict as soon as possible instead of letting it grow and fester and turn into something else. I remember working with one organization that was cross-country, and there was a conflict between two of the VPs, and it was because the structure was set up wrong. There was an overlap between their duties, and so their staff was really stressed because there was duplication of effort. They were getting direction from more than one place, and it was conflicting. People were really unhappy and thinking of jumping ship. Luckily, I was coaching one of those two VPs, so I worked with her around planning to have a conversation with that president around the conflict and what was happening because of not dealing with the conflict, what the fallout of that was. So what the president did was took the conversation to heart and worked with his entire leadership team to reorganize the organization so that that overlap wasn't there anymore, that duties were much clearer, that conflict went away, and nobody quit. So that was a good thing.
Now, how does it work, Valerie, as this external coach coming in? Do leaders look at the structure of their organization or their company and they think, you know what, this isn't working, let me hire a coach? Or is it a sense of someone higher than them has to call you in? Because I would imagine that being a leader, sometimes it's hard to take a look outside and think outside of the box to see who can come in and help, because leaders like to do it all themselves. That's their job.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, leaders do like to do it all themselves, and we're taught to be self-sufficient, and you know it all, and you don't really need any help. But when people realize that they don't know it all, that they can bring someone in to help them, people love having a coach because it's someone confidential that brings in a set of tools and experiences that they don't have. And I often have people call me. Sometimes it's the leader themselves who wants a coach. Sometimes it's their boss who calls me in. It really is different. I've had people who are very effective leaders who are moving up in the organization who just want that extra edge, that little bit of help that a coach can give them so that they can move even that much quicker within their organization. And have been called in with people who are basically, you smarten up or you're on the block. So I've dealt with people in that entire continuum, and each one's different and each one's fun.
Tell the listeners a little bit about your background and how you came into the position that you're currently in now.
Well, I was almost a high school math teacher.
Wow.
So I wanted to be a teacher. I know. I wanted to be a teacher my entire life. I told you I started teaching dancing when I was 12, and I was really going to be a high school math teacher right up until my last year of high school. And then I decided high school math teachers didn't make enough money, and I stayed in mathematics, but instead of minoring in teaching, I minored in computer science. So when I graduated with a Bachelor of Mathematics, I really am a natural teacher, and in 2 different companies I taught technical courses, so I taught computer courses. Then I went to school at night to get an MBA, and as soon as I took the human resources courses, I realized that's where I belonged. And I was very fortunate. I was at a large company who transferred me from teaching computer courses into their human resources department. And I started facilitating, training, and coaching then, and I've been doing it ever since.
And
so what's interesting is I have both sides of the brain, so that's always weird for people because I'm a mathematician by training, and I have a MBA with a minor in human resources. So people like me because I can talk business, I can talk numbers, I can talk process, I can talk business.
But I think as well, Valerie, is the fact that you're able to, which is hard to find, that you have that business side to you, and you understand all of that perspective of what you teach, but you sound like such a personable person, and that was what makes you a great coach as well. So it's a wonderful combination.